Everyone. Today we're diving into something a little different, uh, aging, but not in the way you might think.
Yeah, forget those old ideas about what happens after you hit 40.
Exactly. We're
Yeah.
talking about really thriving in every decade,
Yeah.
living your best life, no matter what your age is.
So to help us unpack all of this,
Hmm.
we've got this awesome conversation between Luke Coutinho,
He's a holistic health expert.
right, and podcast host Ranbir, and let me tell you, this conversation is packed with insights.
Oh yeah, they cover everything from building muscle to the downsides of retiring and even how our modern world is messing with our genes.
It's pretty fascinating stuff. So to kick things off, Coutinho argues that our whole view of aging is seriously outdated.
Yeah, it says the food we eat, the stress we're under, even the way diseases are showing up, it's a whole new ballgame.
Okay, so if the rules of the game have changed, shouldn't our playbook change too? What are we supposed to do?
Well, Coutinho says one of the biggest things is building muscle, but he's not just talking about getting ripped for the beach.
Oh, so there's more to it than just looking good. Way more. He actually calls muscle the body's largest endocrine organ.
Hold on, the largest what?
Endocrine organ. It means that muscle tissue is actually pumping out hormones that communicate with every part of your body.
Oh. So it's not just about bicep curls, it's about how our muscles are sending messages to our bones, our metabolism, everything.
Exactly. And the really cool thing is, Coutinho is not saying we all need to become bodybuilders.
That's a relief.
Yeah.
I don't think I could pull that off.
He highlights how even short bursts of exercise can make a huge difference.
Like, what kind of short bursts are we talking about?
He mentions things like push-ups, squats, and pull-ups. Just doing a quick round of those can really get things moving.
Okay, so it's more about consistency and making smart choices, not necessarily spending hours at the gym.
Exactly. And speaking of smart choices, Coutinho and Renby also spend a lot of time talking about mobility and flexibility.
Yeah, I know those are important, but I'm always curious to hear why experts give them so much emphasis.
Well, they argue that good mobility, meaning how well your joints move, and flexibility are crucial for preventing injuries and boosting your workouts.
Okay, that makes sense, but it sounds like there's more to it.
There is. They actually tie mobility and flexibility into deeper sleep.
Really? I've never thought about it like that.
Think about if you're flexible and mobile, you're less prone to those aches and pains that keep you up at night.
That's a good point. It all connects.
It does. And Coutinho really stresses that it doesn't need to be complicated.
Hmm.
He actually discovered the importance of mobility through his own sports injuries.
So he's speaking from experience.
He is. And he says that just weaving simple stretches into your day, not just in a dedicated yoga class, can make a huge difference.
Okay, so building muscle, focusing on mobility, those are all things we can actively do. But what about the stuff happening at a deeper level, like with our genes? That feels a little out of our control.
Well, that's where things get really interesting. Coutinho says that thanks to epigenetics, our genes aren't set in stone.
Wait, so you're telling me we can actually influence how our genes behave? That's wild. What does he say has that kind of power over our DNA?
He points to a lot of things like our environment, the choices we make, even our social circles.
So our lifestyle can already dial up or down the expression of certain genes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He mentions this guy, Dr. Bruce Lipton, who wrote The Biology of Belief. He was a big influence on Coutinho's thinking about epigenetics and the subconscious mind.
So we're not just talking about diet and exercise here. It's about our mental and emotional landscape, too.
It's all connected. Coutinho believes that even our thoughts and emotions have a direct line to our blood chemistry, which in turn can impact gene expression.
This is blowing my mind. So what kind of examples did he give about lifestyle impacting genes?
Well, he links things like sleep deprivation to negative gene expression, while positive social connections and inner peace can actually switch on those positive genes.
Okay, so it's not just about what we're putting into our bodies, but also what we're thinking and feeling.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
He even believes that a lot of our unhealthy choices, from grabbing a bag of chips to engaging in negative self-talk, actually stem from a deeper need for love, appreciation, and belonging.
Hold on, let me get this straight. He's saying that when we're craving those things, love, appreciation, belonging, and they're not being met, it can actually show up as unhealthy habits.
That's exactly what he's saying.
Yeah.
It's like our bodies and minds are crying out for those fundamental needs to be met. He even says that a lot of parent-child conflicts come down to this, like a lack of understanding and a yearning for approval on both sides.
It's almost like they're speaking different languages.
Right, each generation with their own set of experiences and expectations.
And both just wanting to feel seen and appreciated.
Exactly. It's a powerful idea that these deep emotional needs are driving so many of our actions and choices.
So if we're constantly trying to fill those voids with unhealthy habits or seeking validation from the outside, what does that actually look like? Did Coutinho give any examples?
He does. He talks about this client of his. She's 101 years old.
101. Wow, that's incredible. She must be doing something right.
Yeah, she's still going strong.
Mm.
And Coutinho stresses that she's not like some superhuman anomaly or anything.
Oh, so she's experiencing normal age-related changes.
Exactly. Like he mentions that she's definitely lost some muscle mass over the years.
But she's still thriving at 101. That's pretty encouraging.
It is. It shows that even if we see some natural decline as we age, we can still be proactive and make choices that support our health and longevity.
So it's not all downhill after a certain age.
Not at all. Coutinho argues that we're often misled by this idea that we inevitably lose significant muscle as we age.
It's like we just accept it as fact.
Right. And he says it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. If we believe we're destined to become frail, we stop doing the things that keep us strong.
So it's about challenging those limiting beliefs and taking action.
Exactly. While some decline is natural, how much muscle we lose is largely up to us.
So what can we do to challenge those beliefs and maintain muscle as we age?
He talks about grip strength and squatting as indicators of functional strength.
Okay, interesting. So like how well we can grip things and get up from a chair.
Exactly. He says when our brain senses we're losing those abilities, it basically throws in the towel and starts slowing down the aging process.
So maintaining those basic functions sends a signal to our brain that we're still able-bodied and not ready to slow down.
Yes. And it's not just about physical strength. It's about having a purpose, staying engaged with life.
Right, having something to look forward to.
Exactly. He actually argues that retiring from work completely can be detrimental.
Really, I would have thought that retirement would be a time to relax and enjoy the fruits of your labor.
It can be,
Feel
but
like-
Coutinho's point is that it's not about working till you drop. It's about finding that sense of purpose that keeps you going.
So maybe retirement shouldn't mean a complete stop, but rather a shift in focus.
That's a good way to put it. It's a chance to explore passions, take up hobbies, volunteer, anything that keeps you engaged in learning.
It's like we're designed to keep growing and evolving no matter our age.
Exactly. And all of this ties back to that social connection piece that we talked about earlier.
Right, he calls it the real fountain youth.
He does. He says that no longevity supplement in the world can make you live longer than social connections.
Wow, that's a powerful statement.
It is. And it highlights how important those connections are for our overall well-being.
So it's not just about the quantity of friends, but the quality of those relationships.
Exactly. Feeling truly seen, heard, and loved is like a superpower when it comes to health and longevity.
And you know, when we talk about meaningful connections, we can't ignore the relationships between aging parents and their adult children.
Oh yeah, that could be a tricky one to navigate.
Definitely. Both generations often come with their own baggage and expectations.
Right, and Coutinho points out that there are no easy answers when it comes to these relationships.
So what does he suggest people do?
He emphasizes the importance of understanding empathy and open communication.
Easier said than done sometimes.
It can be.
Good.
But he believes it's crucial for bridging that generational gap
So it's about trying to see things from the other person's perspective,
and really listening to what they have to say.
even if you don't agree with them.
Exactly. He also highlights the power of acknowledging past mistakes and apologizing.
That can be tough.
It can be, but it can also be incredibly healing.
So it's about creating space for understanding, even if you don't find a solution to the problem.
He actually shared how simply having an honest conversation with his father, even without resolving their issues, helped improve their relationship immensely.
Sometimes just feeling heard and understood can make all the difference.
It's true. And it could be the first step towards rebuilding those fractured connections.
Okay, so we've got building muscle, staying engaged, nurturing social connections, all these pieces working together for graceful aging.
Exactly. It's a holistic approach that takes into account our physical, emotional, and social well-being.
And Coutinho keeps circling back to mindset. So what specific advice does he give for cultivating a more positive outlook as we age?
He stresses the importance of challenging those negative thoughts that can creep in and hold us back.
It's easy to get caught up in those negative thought patterns.
It is. He talks about the power of positive self-talk, but he warns against toxic positivity.
Oh, so it's not about pretending everything is perfect all the time.
No. It's about acknowledging our challenges while still choosing to focus on what empowers us.
It's like finding that balance between acceptance and empowerment.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He also talks about embracing challenges, especially those that push us outside of our comfort zones.
He's definitely a big believer in that. Remember how he started his career at 34?
Right. He went against the grain and built a whole new path for himself.
It's like he's living proof that it's never too late to pursue your dreams.
Exactly. And he sees those challenges as opportunities for growth and transformation.
So instead of fearing those challenges, we can see them as stepping stones.
Exactly. And he also reminds us to embrace imperfection.
Oh, I like that.
He says trying to be perfect just creates a wall between us and others.
It's like we're constantly trying to present this flawless image to the world.
And it prevents us from forming genuine connections.
Because true connection comes from being vulnerable and authentic.
Exactly. He even challenges the idea that competition is always a good thing.
Really, I always thought a little healthy competition was motivating.
It can be. But Coutinho points out that when competition is driven by ego and a need for external validation, it can actually make us feel inadequate.
It's like we're constantly comparing ourselves to others and coming up short.
Exactly. And it takes away from the joy of simply being ourselves.
So, what does he suggest we do instead?
He encourages us to find fulfillment in those internal qualities that bring us joy and peace.
So, it's about focusing on our own values and what truly matters to us?
Exactly. He wants us to align our actions with those values and find meaning in the everyday moments.
It's about finding that inner compass and letting it guide our choices, rather than chasing external validation.
Exactly. And recognizing that true wealth lies in who we are not, in what we own or achieve.
And speaking of true wealth, both Coutinho and Ron Beer bring up the topic of loneliness as a major challenge in our modern world.
Right. It's like a silent epidemic that affects people of all ages.
He's mentioned it before, but why do they think it's so pervasive?
They link it to the rise of social media and this constant craving for instant gratification.
It's like we're looking for connection in all the wrong places.
Exactly. Scrolling through feeds instead of having real-world interactions.
So what's the antidote?
Well, Rambier actually shares his personal journey of overcoming loneliness, and it's quite inspiring.
I'd love to hear more about that.
He realized he needed to be proactive about creating a life that fostered connection.
So it wasn't just going to happen on its own.
No. He started by prioritizing his relationship with his partner, making time for childhood friends and family, and even incorporating team sports into his routine.
So he created a network of meaningful connections, both romantic and platonic.
Right, and it gave him a sense of belonging and purpose.
It's a powerful reminder that we have the power to choose connection.
We can prioritize those relationships that bring us joy and create a life that feels rich and fulfilling.
It's an inspiring story, one that reminds us that even in a world that often feels isolating and disconnected, we have the power to choose love, connection, and then belonging.
Exactly. And it all circles back to that central theme of aging gracefully.
Right. It's not just about living a long life, it's about living a life that feels meaningful and purposeful.
A life filled with connection, joy, laughter, and a deep sense of gratitude for each and every day.
Yeah, it really is inspiring. Like, we have more control than we think.
We really do. Coutinho and Ranbir are both encouraging us to, rethink this whole aging thing.
It's not just about living longer, it's about living better.
Exactly. A life with purpose, connections, joy, all of that.
Absolutely. So, as we wrap up this deep dive, what are the key takeaways for our listeners? Like, what can they do to start embracing this more empowered approach to aging?
Well, I think Coutinho really nailed it when he talked about those short bursts of strength training.
Like the push-ups and squats we talked about
Yeah,
earlier.
exactly.
Yeah.
He said those can make a huge difference for hormonal health and longevity.
And don't forget those mobility exercises, too.
Right. Even just a few minutes of stretching each day can go a long way.
And of course, we can't overlook the power of mindset.
Oh, absolutely.
Bro.
Coutinho made it clear that our thoughts and emotions can actually impact our genes.
Yeah, he said chronic stress can switch on those genes that speed up aging, while things like meditation can activate the longevity genes.
He even encouraged us to explore those deeper emotional needs like love, appreciation, belonging.
Because when those needs aren't met, it can lead to some unhealthy choices.
It's like we're trying to fill a void with the wrong things.
It's so true. And then there's the whole piece about challenging those limiting beliefs.
Like thinking we're too old to try something new or striving for perfection.
Or comparing ourselves to others all the time.
Right. Coutinho's message is clear. We need to become aware of those patterns and consciously choose a different path.
And for those of us struggling with loneliness, Ron Beer's story is a great example of how to find genuine connection.
He showed us that it takes effort. It's about being proactive, reaching out to loved ones, finding activities that bring us joy.
It's about creating a life that fosters connection and belonging.
And it's never too late to start.
Never too late to rewrite those rules of aging.
It's never too late to prioritize well-being, embrace a positive mindset, and create a life that feels truly fulfilling.
So as we leave you to ponder all of this, we have one final question. If our thoughts and emotions can really impact our genes, what possibilities does that open up for you?
What beliefs and behaviors could you adopt today to shape a healthier, happier tomorrow? Maybe it's starting a gratitude practice or reconnecting with an old friend or finally pursuing that passion project you've been putting off.
Whatever it is, take that first step today. Your future self will thank you.
And that's a wrap on our deep dive into aging.
Thanks for joining us, everyone. We'll see you next time.
Yes.